Hello and welcome. We are broadcasting live from GlobalNutriPreneurs, the premier global gateway and unified operating system transforming the future of global agri-food economy. Today, the global food system stands at a critical crossroads. While the demand for functional health, wellness, and nutritional security is expanding exponentially, early-stage innovators face massive roadblocks, fragmented supply chains, opaque cross-border regulations, and a staggering volume of unvetted noise that isolates brilliant founders from institutional capital. The cost of this friction isn't just measured in lost revenue. It is measured in the unacceptably high rate of global food waste and systematic nutritional insecurity. Promoted by the Global Council for Agri-Food Trade and Innovation and the Global Council for the Promotion of International Trade, Global Entrepreneurs was engineered to dismantle these barriers. We are moving decisively past passive business directories. Powered by a robust digital operating system featuring AI-driven founder mentor matching, automated regulatory compliance hubs, and an integrated virtual deal room, we are systematically transforming high-potential ventures into scalable investment-grade nutri-business. Our ecosystem operates across 6 integrated strategic pillars, uniting a dedicated global R&D network, shared physical infrastructure, via decentralized common facility centers, and an ESG-compliant trade and investment marketplace. Right now, our team is executing a massive global pipeline evaluation, reviewing over 10,000 agriculture, food, and nutrition business across more than 150 countries. Our mission is clear: to uncover the elite innovators shaping the next era of wellness, unlock friction-free global market access, and actively drive a 40% reduction in global post-harvest food losses. Today, as part of our Women in Food, Agriculture, and Nutrition Forum series, we are mapping out the blueprints for the agriculture revolution. Joining us is a leader whose work sits at the very frontier of this transformation. Please welcome to the global stage our guest for today, Ndukong Clinton Koyoh, a premier food security, market systems, livelihood, and resilience specialist with over 8 years of distinguished experience across Central Africa, particularly leading high-impact humanitarian agriculture value chain and development programs in Cameroon. Clinton brings deep ground-level expertise in structural food security design. Core pillars of these value chain resilience are market systems and community analytics, a proven authority in executing deep dive market system assessments, price monitoring infrastructures, and local procurement feasibility analysis that directly optimize regional trade dynamics. Inclusive and vulnerable focus programming, expert in managing complex vulnerability assessments, cash-based transfer systems, and school feeding frameworks, ensuring that localized production translates into lasting social impact. Evidence-based systems design, grounded in a powerful cross-section of quantitative and qualitative research, meal frameworks, and multi-stakeholder management. Clinton guides cross-function teams to deliver actionable strategies for international NGOs, government bodies, and development partners. Thank you for joining us today to help shape the future of global entrepreneurs. I now request you to kindly proceed with your presentation. Over to you.
Okay, thank you, Grisika Clinton. It's an honor to be part of the global Nutripreneur ecosystem. Just to say that today's global food security isn't about growing more food. It's about building resilience, adaptable food system that nourish the population without depleting the natural ecosystem that sustain them. So I will just proceed to my presentation, which has to do with driving value in food system, mitigating post-harvest loss through value chain addition and scalable innovation. Like you've just said in my background, I'm an agricultural economics senior independent consultant, food security and evidence-based solution for resilience food system. So I will just start to bring to your attention about what we call the Homegrown School Feeding Program, which is a local food system transformation. You know, within the global stage, nationally and other parts of the world, when you talk about Homegrown School Feeding Program, I mean, someone will be like, what is it all about? So there is that need for people to really know that there is a game changer. There is a program that provides a win-win scenario when it comes to economic development. So I will just dive straight to say, Homegrown School Feeding Program is a model that provides school children with safe, diverse, and nutritional meals while sourcing the food locally from smallholder, farmer, and local producers. That is just what homegrown school feeding is all about. Unlike the traditional school feeding programs that rely on imported centrally produced bulk food supplies, homegrown school feeding program that links education, health, agriculture into a single sustainable system. Whereas in the past, they used to rely on donor-funded food items, but it has changed to a homegrown school feeding program where we no longer rely on external aid. These food items are sourced locally. Yes, so it has changed from just a normal school feeding program to a homegrown school feeding program. And I will just try to bring your attention to some of the objectives and the benefits of this program, which has to do with education and attendance, which this program goes a long way to increase school enrollment, daily attendance, student retention by providing local healthy meals. It moves further to nutrition and health, improves children's growth, cognitive development, and enroll healthy, saving fresh, locally sourced food. So this food, we no longer bring this food from outside. This food is produced locally, sourced locally from smallholder farmers. It equally has a benefit of local economic growth, provides smallholder farmers with steady, predictable market for their harvest, boosting local income and rural livelihood. With this program, farmers now have where they could sell, they have steady market, they are producing, because agriculture has changed. We no longer produce before we sell. At some point in time, we already have the market before we engage into production. Whereas you see, farmers just go into production and are just producing without knowing the market situation. So now, with the homegrown school feeding program, a farmer is producing, be it maize, he knows there's a school that is willing and is ready to buy this product. Now we now see another important aspect of it, which is a food system resilience. So it strengthens local agricultural supply chain, reduce food transportation emission, and support local dietary habit. Next slide. Now, looking at the homegrown school feeding program, you will see some beautiful pictures at the other side. You see my level of engagement with common initiative groups at the level of their because they usually have their meetings. You see me at the level of the farm. You see the picture below, some of the produce that have been transformed locally by this cooperative. And I will tell you, 80% of these members of this cooperative in my community are mostly women. To see how women transformation, I mean, really caught my attention. An institutional procurement with public schools. Like I talk about the school feeding program, which has to do with direct sourcing, replace bloated centrally supply chains by sourcing 80 to 95% of agricultural commodities locally within the immediate community. You see, so we come to empower the community. We ensure that we source this food locally. Let's say you have a project that has to make a purchase of maybe biofortified maize, biofortified vegetable oil. Maybe see it has a cost of $10,000. What if the $10,000 is injected into the community rather than bringing this food from external, purchasing this food outside? What if we inject this $10 into the community? I will not go further. You yourself, you can judge from the benefits we can have from the program. These are the program that we've seen a lot of impact of the activity on the community. Then we have post-harvest loss mitigation, created an immediate, predictable municipal off-taker loop that prevents fresh perishable from rotting at the level of the farm. The schools are in need of vegetables. The schools are in need of fruits. So immediately from the farms that is harvested, the farms are located in the community where the schools are. So you see, they bring this food direct to the schools. You get it? So it reduces post-harvest loss. Then we're going to have systematic integration, streamline direct contracts to marginalize farmers. stabilizing their cash flow, and transforming them into an active market-driven producer. Some of these farmers, they are not grouped. So it's very difficult when you have to work with individual farmers. But at some point in time, we bring these farmers to form cooperatives. This now assists us for us to establish contracts with this cooperative. They bargain for their product. They're the one who sets the price for the agricultural product. They don't just supply maize, they supply processed flour. They don't just supply vegetables, they supply vegetable that is picked. So we take into consideration the cost of production, and everything. And they get paid from the program. So you could see from my slide. Then now, Homegrown School Feeding Program, like I just abbreviated HGSFP, data-driven impact. We look at the smallholder farmers, we look at the school children, and we look at the economy. Looking at this program, guaranteed demands, sourcing directly out local food crops. Average vegetable post-harvest loss dropped from 35% to 8%, boosting average farmer household income by 30%. So now, these cooperatives, these members of this, they belong to households. You see that supplying this food to schools, it boosts their level of income at the level of the household. Looking at the level of school children, nutritional uplift, provide hot, micronutrient-dense meal daily. Attendance rate surged by 14.5%, and classroom nutrition makers improve significantly over 12 months. You see that with these programs, like within communities where we move into the community, if there is a school benefiting from the school feeding program, then there is another school in another community not benefiting from the program. It becomes challenging where a child who goes to school tells us, hey, today they're preparing porridge in school. Tomorrow we'll be drinking soya beans milk. It starts to like create some sort of interest from the other children to tell them, hey, mom, you registered me, you have to enroll in that school. And we've had a success story where you see a child coming to school with the kid bro, just for the fact that when he receives his ration during break, she shares with the brother. So you see, the success stories are so amazing when it comes to the Homegrown School Feeding Program. So we look at the local economic capital retention, like I said, rather than purchasing this product, $10,000 that you want to purchase, what if we inject this $10,000 into the community? So it keeps over 90% of school feeding funds circulating within the rural economy. It's fostering new decentralized logistics and micro enterprises. Because as an enterprises, a good number of them, they have the issue with record keeping. You build the capacities of these cooperatives on bookkeeping, record keeping, and leadership. So the programs you can see the importance of the program. Then we now move to empowering cooperative and cross-border trade that we've currently been engaged in, where supporting local market gardening farmers to build resilient supply chains and secure premium export channel across Central Africa. We look at cooperative empowerment, where partnering directly with market gardening cooperatives to organize production, improve crop quality, and scale farming output. We look at sustainable market gardening, promoting best agricultural practices, post-harvest handling, and a year-round fresh vegetable production. Secure export corridors, establishing reliable commercial linkage to deliver high-value produce directly into the Gabonese and Equatorial Guinea markets. You can see how we have here we have market gardeners that produce fresh vegetable crops. We've secured markets with other buyers from other Central African countries where they produce this produce. There is already an existing market where they buy at the farm at good prices. We have target market like Gabon and Equatorial Guinea, which is which you see this farmer making a huge income from this activity. Then I will not go without talking some of the challenges we've faced and some of how we've tried to mitigate them, which we have high crop seasonality and high fragmented farming standard among rural farmers, creating predictable delivery volumes and crop quality, where we had to mitigate this by organizing these individual farmers into formal groups. We organize into formal specific groups. We have the cassava common initiative group. We have the maize, where we deploy a few trainers with standardized pre-post harvest protocols and set up basic solar dehydration hubs to store seasonal surplus. So that is how we had to mitigate through this supply and quality. We have the logistical liquidity, which you have poor farm to school road networks that hinder daily delivery, which was one of the challenges we faced, that delayed institutional payment from school boards and threatened farmers' trust. So we now partnered with some local motorcycle transporters network for daily school schedule aggregation, and negotiated and secured mobile money structures that pay these smallholder farmers instantly. We will not just do this without facing some challenges. There are moments where when they supply us in terms of delay payment, you see they get frustrated, because normally if a farmer takes a bucket of maize to the market, he gets one or two things, or maybe he can easily solve his or her problem. But we know the issue with the middlemen. Maybe you take a bucket of maybe a bag of or a tonnage of maize worth maybe $100. You see, oh, my battery. So you see, so it becomes a problem. So they have actually have the markets where they could sell their products. They will have future trends and in agri trends and future trends in agri food system sustainability. Now we look how we have engaging landscape innovation. We have the global the Grass Highland Logistics Sustainable Logistic Model, where it's a logistic limited company that is being managed by a group of us that we came together, where we see how we could do decentralized cold chains, solar powered modular storage at rural transport hub, eliminating electricity grid dependence on preserved perishables. We have circular bioeconomy, converting agricultural waste, harvest, discard into high-grade organic fertilizer, biopackaging, and clean household energy. You can look digital traceability using lightweight mobile tools and blocks registry ledgers to verify crop origin, tracking quality from harvest to the final buyers. So this is just some of the emerging landscape innovations that we have at our level. So we're going to have scaling blueprints. So our permit is like the electricity. Sorry, can you just post? I have an electricity problem. Let me connect. Let me just get it connected. Sorry for that. Let me just get it connected. Okay. Okay, fine. Thank you. So now you look at the scaling blueprint, scaling through standardization to scale localized success into robust international pipelines. Agri-food models must shift from informal network to highly standardized, repeatable operations. We look at primary scaling catalysts, establish robust post-harvest standard operating procedures, aligning regional compliance with international food system certifications. So we see some of these rural farmers, they equally lack some knowledge. What if we get these farmers strength on a good number of certification, how to make their product? Because there was always a problem of quality of the product. Then unlocking private branded finance structure to support capital heavy processing machinery. So I think these are some of the 3x value growth potentials. which if you look at it, it's a scaling blueprint. Then now we have the ecosystem synergy, like what I'm looking at, how we can contribute to the global nutripreneurs ecosystem. We can offer offering a field tested operational playbooks on direct rural public procurement system. Joint research, knowledge sharing primary data regarding local African crop yields and post-harvest loss patterns. That's some of the contributions we could contribute to the global nutripreneurs. We looked at mentorship and ecosystem building, working alongside investors and failure innovators to nurture the next generation of agri-food systems. You see, here in Africa and Cameroon, we have a growing population of young people who are passionate about food system transformation, but they don't have the platform where they could showcase what they can offer. And we see a good number of them, like earlier mentioned, women contribute a lot to the food system transformation. And the youths contribute a lot, but their voice are not heard and they are underrepresented. They need those platforms for them to come up. They have the ideas. They need mentorship to come up with the ideas and showcase it to the global stage so that they get to know what they are doing at the level of the grassroots. So I'm equally going to collaborative opportunities where we could co-author policy briefs linking small holder cluster into civic institutions. We have constructing regional networks to secure reliable offtake for processed sustainable goods. Cross-border pilot, partnering with regional entrepreneurs to test and adopt sustainable agri-tech models in new geographies, which I think is going to go a long way to build our like I talked of about collaboration and collaborative opportunities. So I will just say thank you. I've just gone to the end of my presentation, and I will say let's build sustainable, scalable food system together. We will go a long way to solve the problem of food security. Like I earlier mentioned, it's not all about growing more food. It's all about building resilience, adaptable food system that nourishes the population without depleting the natural ecosystem that sustains it. Because the Mother Earth gives us, we need to ensure that our activities that we do will go a long way to sustain it. Thank you.
You may now stop sharing the screen. Thank you,
Okay.
Ndukong, for sharing your valuable insights with the Global Nutripreneurs community. That was an engaging and thought-provoking presentation. I'd now like to ask you a few questions to dive a little deeper into your experience and perspective. So, given your extensive background in market systems assessments across Central Africa, how can regional trade policies and local procurement infrastructures be better aligned to buffer smallholder farmers against extreme market volatility and price shocks?
Okay. Thank you for your question. Aligning regional trade policies and local procurement, I will just have to make some key points, which I will have to say for us to anchor demand locally first. If we anchor our demand locally first, it's going to solve a lot of problems. Like I said, we engage in my presentation that we are engaged in institutional procurement to link homegrown school feeding program to schools, guaranteeing stable market for smallholder farmers, sourcing produce 80 to 90% locally. So that immediately creates predictable market for their product for farmers. That equally creates markets for them because they don't have the capacity to compete globally. So when we anchor it, we start locally, it's going to go a long way to prepare them. So we equally have reduced post-harvest losses through processing. Local procurement infrastructure must integrate basic processing, such as maybe solar dehydration. For example, there is cassava chipping processing, where this cassava can be processed processed and market. So we're going to have a problem of post-harvest loss in the cassava processing sector, where if we do that, it drops post-harvest loss from 35 to up to 8% if we engage in that, which I think is something, if we look at it from that part, is going to help. And then I can only look at it from harmonized global trade standard. We have regional trade policies like the Economic Commission for African States and the CEMAC zone need to see a simplified cross-border compliance for small holder farmers and cooperatives. This allows organized farming groups to easily move surplus produce in neighboring markets like Gabon, Equatorial Guinea, dropping during peak harvest. Let's say an Irish potato producer in Cameroon might witness an increase in his production. If there are markets in Gabon, Equatorial Guinea that are linked with motorable roads, why not just harmonize these trade standards? This will go a long way to solve that. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that perspective. That's a very valuable insight. Building on to that, I'd like to move to my next question. So with the forum's focus on women in agriculture, food and nutrition sector, what key strategies have you found most effective in transforming subsistence agricultural value chains into commercially viable investment-ready systems in fragile or crisis-affected regions like Cameroon?
Yeah, actually transforming subsistence chains in fragile regions, for example, like Cameroon, I will just have to give you maybe 3 points or how I can put them. Like I said, from the Homegrown School Feeding Program that we did, okay, we had to like organize these farming groups into formal cooperatives. We organize them into formal cooperatives. Like subsistence farmers struggle with fragmented production. So organizing them into crop-specific cooperative creates the scale and standard for the quality required by commercial buyers. So when you bring these farmers together, it's easy for you to train them on maybe like deploying extension workers to give them the necessary training they need for that. They will, when these development partners come, they will equally see the need to get them on board. And you equally look at the risk investment with fast liquidity, which I would say in fragile zone, trust is low and cash flow is critical. So implementing instant mobile money payment system upon crop delivery keeps farmers engaged. And money is the lifeblood for every venture. Without money, that venture doesn't work. And when money becomes a problem, it tends to cause a lot of problem on trust. Like in one of the cooperative had engaged by name Unity Strength, there was a problem at the level when they had supplied commodities to school, and the president of the cooperative took the money, and at the end of the day, they had a problem with accountability. This caused a good number of cooperative members to tender their resignation. Then we equally have issues like earlier mentioned in the case where you supply your products at the end of the day due to delay payments, maybe administrative challenges to release this money to the local farmers. When they wait, they have bills to pay, they have children's school fees to pay, they have health to manage, they have bills to settle. So when it takes longer time for them to get their payment, it becomes a problem. They get so frustrated. So I will only add the last point we have to do, add value through localized processing. We can move beyond raw produce, introducing accessible value chain additions such as producing packaged cassava chips, specialized flour, dried hops. Value addition tends to because some of these products are seasonal. So if we try to see how it is being processed, we see how this add value to whatever they produce, and equally improve the shelf life of some of those commodities, vegetables they supply to school. Maybe vegetable cannot be preserved for a very long time. They can process this vegetable and dry. Then we only have fruits, because normally some of these cooperatives, they supply fruits to schools. maybe in a season where we don't have fruits, they could see how they could process and keep for long term. Thank you.
That's a very interesting way to look at it. Moving on to our next question. You've led high impact vulnerability focused initiatives, including school feeding frameworks and cash based transfers. How can international development partners ensure that localized food production directly translates into long term nutritional security and economic empowerment for the most vulnerable populations?
Yeah, thank you very much for that interesting question. Transforming localized production into long-term security and empowerment, I would equally put them into two key points where we could actually create a closed loop economy. With a closed loop economy, like I earlier mentioned, because at the end of the day, with some of these programs that they come, it's for 12 months. What happened after that 12 months when this program is not more functional? It's a big problem. So if we create a closed loop economy, ensure that funds allocated for development and social safety net remain in the community. Like I mentioned, I will still come back to when I mentioned, okay, if you have $10 to purchase food items, what if this $10 is injected into the community? So by keeping maybe over 90% of school feeding funds within the community, within the rural economy, you stimulate micro enterprise and boost average farm income by 30%. So you see, so if you engage by that aspect, I think it will go a long way to see that whatsoever we are doing, it's sustainable. Then now we can now focus on nutrition dense local crop. You see, now we within the local community, there's that over reliance on imported nutrition stuffs that they give, like the plumpy nuts, like the milk. Okay, what if we shift away from that over reliance on imported grains and sourcing them fresh produce? So you see how it's going to improve on nutrition and daily school attendance by up to 14%. So why incentivizing farmers to grow diverse crops? Let them not just focus on particular crop, they grow a diversity of crops that go a long way now to improve on their reliance from imported items.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for highlighting that. That leads us nicely to the next topic. In designing structural food security programs, how do you leverage quantitative and qualitative meal frameworks to convince multi-stakeholder coalitions and international investors to scale localized resilience models?
Yeah, monitoring and evaluation, like you mentioned, is an important aspect when it comes to project implementation, because if you implement without carrying out monitoring and evaluation, how do you inform your stakeholders on what has been done? So monitoring and evaluation is very, very important. And with monitoring and evaluation, it's not just enough for us to get this, we distributed this, no. So at some point in time, it's good for us to combine data. It's good for us to combine data with clear economic metrics. You see, like investors want to see return on investment. If I'm spending $1, so so when I'm spending $1, what is the return on investment? If you make stakeholders know about this, they get interested, because quantifying exact impact, such as providing a reduction in post-harvest loss from this percentage to this percentage, from let's say from 30 to 8%. You see, so it becomes very interesting to the stakeholders. Let's say we now talk of maybe on farmers' income, from this percentage to this percentage. We talk about school attendance from this percentage to this percentage. Like other studies conducted by FAO, WFP, and other researchers, there are evidence that $1 invested in a school feeding program yields investment 9 to 39 from $1 invested yields an investment of $9 to $39. So when you make those return on investment available to the stakeholders, they get interested. Then we now look at demonstrate supply chains reliability, like quantitative and operational. So you have to show investors how operational bottlenecks were solved. Like, for example, I made you understand in terms of delivery, this is how we manage. So you make the investors understand how you solve these challenges. We have a challenge of delivery, getting these food items from the rural communities to the school. What are the at your level? What can you do to solve some of these problems? Like I said, we use motorcycles, we use bike riders to get these communities from hard to reach areas out of those communities in urban centers. They get this produce offered to school. Then I can equally say we can standardize for skills, like use standard operating procedures. If we use standard operating procedures and digital traceability tools to show localized success story, you see. So you look about compliance and safety standard. So and which makes us ready for blended finance investment, because at some point in time, some of these investors want to see some of those success stories based on your intervention. How have you navigate through? So when you put in place certain operating procedures, we talked about this digital traceability, then success stories and other case studies goes a long way to make this work.
Those are some excellent points. Let's explore another important aspect. So, looking at the intersection of climate resilience, global trade, and food security, how can platforms like GlobalNutriPreneurs empower cross-functional teams, innovators, and government bodies to drive the critical policy shifts needed for sustainable food systems over the next decade?
Yeah, actually, how the global nutripreneurs can empower cross-border, cross-functional teams for policy shift. Like I will still put it, maybe I put it looking at maybe share field-tested operational playbooks, like I earlier mentioned. You see, the global nutripreneurs is a platform of this nature can bridge the gap between policy and reality by sharing concrete data. Sharing concrete data on local crop yields, post-harvest losses, and procurement models, like what I'm just doing. Someone who sees this knows that, okay, there is a model in terms of the Homegrown School Feeding Program. There is a decentralized and decentralized model. The centralized models, you see the development partners come with the items, the government will do the procurement. Now, with the decentralized model, you see that these items are sourced locally. So we get to this platform of this nature goes a long way to sensitize a good number of persons. Then now we can equally, the second point, we can foster cross-border pilot projects. So foster cross-border pilot project, like connect investors, agri-tech startup, and regional entrepreneurs to test decentralized solution like solar-powered cold storage and circular bioeconomy models across different borders. You see, so if we foster cross-border pilot projects, I think it's going to connect a good number of young people, a good number of innovators in agri-tech, which will go a long way to make it work. Then for the last point, I would just say we co-author evidence-based policy brief. Yes, evidence-based, because now within the level of we are looking at scaling the school feeding program. Now, a good number of countries have signed commitment to scale the maybe in terms of coverage, the school feeding program. You know, with the school feeding program is reaching 400 million children worldwide. And when you go to other countries, in terms of coverage, maybe when you go to Europe, Asia, you see the percentage is very high. But when it comes to sub-Saharan Africa, the percentage is very low. And narrowing it down to a country like Cameroon, in schools, we have enrollment of over 5 million children in school. But it's shocking to know that in terms of coverage at the level of Cameroon, just 174,000 children are benefiting from the school feeding program. So it's really bad. Just 3%. I think it should be 3% from enrollment and the number of children. So if we call auto evidence-based policy briefs, it's going to go to use data from cross-functional teams to advocate for policies to link smallholder farmers and cooperative to direct public institutional and regional export corridors. What if I produce in Cameroon and there is a program in Gabon, Equatorial Guinea that needs fresh vegetable for us so we easily see how we can work hand in glove to see how this co-author evidence policy briefs, which will go a long way to make it work. Thank you very much.
I think that gives our audience a lot to reflect on. What an incredible masterclass of a conversation. Thank you for sharing your blueprints with us today. Your profound insights reinforce exactly why global nutripreneurs exist, to bridge the critical gap between commercial profitability and sustainable social impact. To everyone tuning in across our global network, whether you're an innovator, an investor, or a policymaker, the path to plugging into this unified agri-food operating system is clear. For agri-food entrepreneurs and founders, stop struggling in isolation. Fast-track your venture through our customized scaling pathways, leverage our AI-driven mentor matching, and utilize our automated regulatory compliance hubs to make your business cross-border ready. For accredited investors, eliminate the noise of unvetted pipelines. Access our pre-evaluated investment-grade nutri-businesses directly through our integrated virtual deal room and secure your stake in the next era of health and wellness. For industrial and academic partners, collaborate with us. Let's unlock deep tech innovation through our Global Agri-Food Nutrition Research and Development Forum and actively build a more equitable ecosystem by championing leadership at our Women in Food Agriculture Nutrition Forum. Together, we can maximize our global networks and deploy decentralized common facility centers to actively drive that 40% reduction in global post-harvest food losses. The future of the global agri-food economy is no longer about survival. It is about sustainable nutrition, scientific excellence, and friction-free global trade. Visit globalnutripreneurs.com to secure your application, verify your venture, and claim your place in the future of food innovation. Thank you for joining us on Global Nutripreneurs. Until next time, keep innovating, keep scaling, and build with impact. Thank you. Have a good day.